The first ash particle reaches your rooftop 3 days after the exchange. You don't see it fall. You don't hear it land. But when you wake on that third morning, the sunlight filtering through your window looks wrong, dimmer, grayer, as though someone has placed a sheet of gauze between earth and sky. You step outside. The air tastes metallic. Your neighbor stands motionless in his driveway, staring upward at a sun that now resembles a pale disk, barely visible through the thickening veil. He doesn't wave, neither do you. Both of you understand without speaking. The world you knew ended 72 hours ago, but the dying has only just begun. This is not the nuclear war of movies and nightmares. There are no mushroom clouds on your horizon, no shockwaves flattening buildings, no flash of light searing your retinas. The bombs fell thousands of miles away in cities whose names you've only seen on maps. But the consequences refuse to respect borders or distance. The fires that followed those detonations sent 150 million tons of black carbon into the stratosphere, far above the cleansing reach of rain and wind. Now that carbon circles the globe, blocking sunlight, collapsing temperatures, and strangling the agricultural systems that keep 7 billion people alive, you are about to learn that proximity to ground zero means nothing. In nuclear winter, everyone is in the blast radius. The thermometer on your porch reads 52 degrees Fahrenheit. It is July. You go back inside and close the door. Your phone still works, though the internet crawls and social media feeds loop the same horrifying footage. Burning cities, evacuation orders, government statements urging calm. The president speaks from an undisclosed location, promising aid and coordination. But the grocery store 3 blocks from your house tells a different story. You visited yesterday. The shelves were already half empty. Today, they are bare. The manager stands at the entrance with his arms crossed, turning people away. No resupply trucks have arrived. None are coming. Your community, this cluster of homes, schools, churches, and parks, faces a test it was never designed to pass. Modern life is built on invisible threads, supply chains that stretch across continents, power grids synchronized to the second, food systems optimized for speed rather than resilience. Now those threads are snapping one by one. The question is not whether your town will face scarcity. The question is whether your town will face it together or alone. You have 60 days before the cold truly arrives. Maybe 90 if you are lucky. After that, temperatures will plummet, crops will fail, and hunger will become the dominant fact of existence. What you do in these next weeks will determine whether your neighborhood survives as a community or fractures into isolated, desperate households. The work begins now, not tomorrow. Not after things get worse, now. The first rule of nuclear winter survival is this. Food is the foundation. Not hope, not weapons, not technology. Food. A human being can endure cold, fear, and darkness if their stomach is full. Take away calories, and everything else collapses within weeks. You know this instinctively. So does everyone around you. That is why the panic buying began within hours of the first reports. That is why your neighbor hoarded 3 shopping carts of canned goods, while others walked away empty-handed. That is why the fragile social contract holding your community together is already fraying. You cannot stop the hoarding, but you can build something better. Walk your neighborhood today. Knock on doors. Gather the people you trust, not the loudest voices or the wealthiest families, but the ones who show up, who listen, who solve problems instead of creating them. Propose a plan. Community food production. Not someday. Not when the government sends help. Now. Identify every yard, every rooftop, every unused lot. Half of your neighbors have lawns they mow, but never use. Those lawns can become gardens. Raised beds can appear in parks. Greenhouses can rise in schoolyards. The goal is not to replace industrial agriculture. The goal is to supplement survival with local production so that when the trucks stop arriving, your block does not starve. Plant cold weather crops immediately. Potatoes, kale, cabbage, turnips, beets, and carrots can endure shortened growing seasons and reduced sunlight. These are not exotic or difficult plants. They are the crops that sustained humanity through famines and ice ages. Your grandparents knew how to grow them. You must remember how. If you lack seeds, pool resources. If you lack soil, compost waste. If you lack knowledge, find the retired gardener 3 streets over who has been growing tomatoes for 40 years. His expertise is now more valuable than any stockpile of gold. But plants alone will not sustain you. Protein becomes critical when temperatures drop and physical labor increases. Large livestock, cattle, pigs, goats, require too much feed and space. They are luxuries your community cannot afford. Instead, focus on small, efficient animals. Chickens produce eggs with minimal input and thrive in confined spaces. Rabbits reproduce quickly and convert feed into meat faster than almost any other animal. These creatures do not require industrial infrastructure. They require only care, planning, and the willingness to do what is necessary when hunger arrives. You must also revive the old skills: canning, fermenting, drying, root cellaring. In a world where electricity becomes unreliable, refrigeration is a gamble. But a properly dug root cellar uses the earth itself as cold storage. Fermented vegetables last months without power. Dried beans and grains can stretch through entire winters. Your ancestors survived without freezers and microwaves. You can too. The knowledge exists. It simply needs to be relearned and shared. Food distribution will test your community more than production. Hunger drives desperation, and desperation drives violence. You must establish rules now before stomachs start growling. Create a council, 5 or 6 trusted individuals chosen not for their wealth or status, but for their judgment and fairness. This council oversees food storage, rationing, and allocation. Make the process transparent. Post lists. Hold meetings. Let everyone see that no one is hoarding, that no one is forgotten. Trust erodes faster than it builds, and once it is gone, your community fractures. You will face moral dilemmas. A family arrives from 2 towns over, hungry and desperate. Do you turn them away? Do you share what little you have? There is no perfect answer, but decisions made collectively, openly, and with compassion prevent resentment from poisoning the group. Survival is not only logistics. It is maintaining the social fabric that keeps people human. Every seed you plant now is insurance. Every skill you learn is currency. Every neighbor you connect with is a lifeline. The sun is dimming. The cold is coming. But if your community begins today, if you transform lawns into gardens and strangers into partners, you give yourselves a chance, not certainty, not comfort, but a chance. And in the world that is unfolding, a chance is more than most will have. The second rule is warmth. In a nuclear winter, heat is not comfort. It is survival. The sun provides less energy each day. Temperatures drop not just at night, but during the afternoon. Your body burns calories simply trying to maintain its core temperature. The elderly, the sick, and the very young are especially vulnerable. Without consistent warmth, hypothermia becomes a silent killer, claiming lives even indoors. Your heating system probably depends on the grid. Natural gas furnaces require electricity to ignite and circulate air. Electric heaters are useless when the power fails. Even oil or propane systems rely on pumps and igniters. When the grid collapses under the weight of fuel shortages, damaged infrastructure, or overwhelming demand, your thermostat becomes a relic. You must prepare for the day when flipping a switch does nothing. The most reliable heat source is fire. Wood-burning stoves and high-efficiency fireplaces become essential. If your home has neither, consider installing one immediately. A single well-maintained wood stove can heat an entire house and provide a cooking surface when gas lines shut down. But fire requires fuel. Trees in your area are finite. Demand for firewood will spike the moment temperatures plummet. That is why you must start gathering now. Identify dead trees. Stockpile fallen branches. Organize neighborhood cutting parties to process timber. before winter locks the ground in frost. But firewood alone is not enough. Insulation multiplies the effectiveness of every log burned. Walk through your home today and identify leaks, drafty windows, gaps under doors. Uninsulated attics, seal them. Use weather stripping, plastic sheeting, heavy curtains, and even blankets stuffed into cracks. If you can reduce heat loss by half, you have your firewood consumption. That difference could mean the difference between warmth and freezing. Consider consolidating living spaces. Heating an entire house is wasteful. Choose one room, preferably a smaller interior room with minimal windows, and make it your winter refuge. Move mattresses. Set up the wood stove or space heater there. Layer blankets. Sleep together. Body heat, when concentrated, provides remarkable warmth. This is how humans survived ice ages. You can too. Your community must also establish warming centers. Not every household will have a wood stove. Not every family will have enough fuel. Designate a church, school, or community center as a shared heat source. Pool firewood. Rotate volunteers to maintain the fire. Open the doors to anyone who needs warmth. These centers do more than prevent hypothermia. They provide gathering points, spaces where isolated families can connect, share information, and maintain morale. Darkness and cold breed despair. Light and warmth breed hope. But warmth is not only fire, it is also energy. In a prolonged crisis, electricity becomes intermittent at best. Solar panels, though less effective under darkened skies, still generate some power when paired with battery storage. Small wind turbines, micro-hydro systems, and even hand crank generators can charge essential devices. Prioritize medical equipment, oxygen concentrators, CPAP machines, and communication tools like radios and phones. Information is survival. A community that can receive weather updates, emergency broadcasts, and coordination instructions holds a decisive advantage over one left silent and blind. Light also matters psychologically. Long nights without illumination erode mental health. Candles, lanterns, and LED lights powered by rechargeable batteries provide more than visibility. They provide comfort. They remind people that they are not abandoned in the dark. Establish a nightly ritual light, a lantern at dusk. Gather for a meal. Share stories. Small acts of normalcy preserve sanity when the world outside feels apocalyptic. Finally, organize energy watch groups. Volunteers check on every household regularly. No one should face the cold alone. No neighbor should be left unseen. If someone's fire goes out, if their fuel runs low, if they fall ill, the community responds immediately. This is not charity. This is survival. A community that protects its weakest members protects itself, because when the cold claims one life, despair spreads, and the entire structure begins to crumble. The world is growing colder, but warmth can be planned, shared, and sustained. Every log split today, every draft sealed, every neighbor checked on, is an act of defiance against the winter closing in. You will not stop the cold, but you can endure it together. The third rule is water and sanitation. Food and heat sustain life, but without clean water and proper hygiene, disease will kill faster than hunger or cold. Public infrastructure depends on electricity. Water treatment plants, sewage systems, and purification facilities all require continuous power to function. When the grid falters, pumps stop. Filtration ceases. Contamination spreads. Tap water that was safe yesterday becomes dangerous today. You must secure multiple water sources immediately. If your town has wells, install hand pumps as backups. If you rely on municipal water, fill every container you own, bathtubs, bottles, barrels, before pressure drops. Identify natural sources, streams, springs, lakes. But do not assume natural water is safe. Even clear, cold streams can carry parasites and bacteria. Every gallon must be purified. Learn purification methods now. Boiling is the most reliable. Bring water to a rolling boil for at least 1 minute. Chlorine tablets are portable and effective for large quantities. Portable filters remove sediment and pathogens. UV purifiers work if you have power. Distillation removes even heavy metals. Teach these methods to every household. Post instructions in common areas. Make water safety as familiar as locking doors. Sanitation becomes equally urgent. When toilets stop flushing, waste accumulates. In dense neighborhoods, human waste can contaminate water supplies, spread cholera, dysentery, and typhoid. You must prevent this immediately. Designate waste zones far from water sources. Dig latrines properly, at least 6 feet deep, covered with soil after each use. Composting toilets convert waste into safe material over time. Chemical toilets work for short-term use. The method matters less than the discipline. Everyone must follow the rules. One careless household can infect dozens. Personal hygiene also shifts. Soap becomes precious. Water for washing is rationed. But even minimal hygiene prevents infection. Wash hands before eating. Clean wounds immediately. Isolate anyone showing symptoms of illness. In a world without antibiotics or emergency rooms, a simple cut can become life-threatening. Prevention is your only medicine. Your community must train medical volunteers. Not doctors, those are rare and overwhelmed, but ordinary people capable of basic first aid. Treating cuts, splinting fractures, recognizing hypothermia, dehydration, and infection. Stockpile medical supplies now. Bandages, antiseptics, gloves, masks, pain relievers, antibiotics if possible. Create a medical cache accessible to trained volunteers. Establish a health reporting system. Families must report symptoms early, not hide them out of fear or shame. Transparency saves lives. Stigma kills. Disease spreads fastest in crowded, cold, unsanitary conditions. Warming centers, while necessary, become infection risks. Mandate hygiene protocols. Hand washing stations at entrances, mask wearing during outbreaks, isolation areas for the sick. These measures feel intrusive. They are also essential. A single flu outbreak in a weakened, malnourished population can claim more lives than the cold itself. Water and sanitation are invisible until they fail. Then they become everything. A community that prioritizes clean water, proper waste management, and basic medical care protects itself from the secondary crises that destroy others. You cannot prevent every illness, but you can prevent the epidemics that turn survival into extinction. The fourth rule is leadership and morale. When systems collapse, people fracture. Fear drives hoarding. Uncertainty breeds paranoia. Neighbors who once smiled now eye each other with suspicion. Without leadership, your community dissolves into isolated households fighting over scraps. With leadership, you endure. Leadership in crisis is not authority, it is trust. Choose your counsel carefully. 5 to 7 individuals, known and respected, representing different skills and perspectives. Not the richest, not the loudest. The ones who listen, who solve problems, who show up when needed. These individuals coordinate food distribution, manage resources, organize patrols, and resolve disputes. They do not command. They facilitate. Establish rules immediately. Simple, clear, written. How food is distributed. How decisions are made. How conflicts are resolved. Post these rules publicly. Hold regular meetings. Let everyone speak. Transparency prevents resentment. Secrets breed conspiracy. The moment people believe the council is hoarding or favoring certain families, trust evaporates. And without trust, the community collapses. Mental health is as important as physical health. Endless darkness wears people down. Isolation breeds depression. Children stop playing. Adults stop speaking. The silence becomes oppressive. You must fight this actively. Organize communal meals, even if portions are small. Gather for music, stories, or prayer. Celebrate small victories, a successful harvest, a repaired roof, a birth. These rituals seem trivial. They are not. They remind people that they are still human, still connected, still alive. Create tasks for everyone. Idle hands and minds spiral into despair. Assign roles. Gardeners, water carriers, firewood gatherers, night watch, medical aides, teachers for children. Everyone contributes. Everyone matters. Purpose sustains morale better than any speech. Security must be collective, not individual. Households barricading themselves in fear create division. Instead, organize neighborhood watch rotations. Establish signals, lights, and windows, specific knocks to indicate safety or distress. The goal is not militarization, it is reassurance. When danger appears, you face it together. Strength is not in walls, it is in numbers. You will face ethical dilemmas. Resources run low. A family arrives, starving, from another town. Do you share? Do you turn them away? There is no easy answer. But decisions made collectively, with compassion and transparency, preserve the community's soul. Cruelty may ensure short-term survival, but it destroys the bonds that make survival meaningful. The worst mistake is assuming someone else will lead. Leadership is not a title. It is action. If you see a need, fill it. If you have a skill, teach it. If you notice someone struggling, help them. In the absence of functioning government, your community is the government. Your actions define whether it functions or fails. The world will not end in nuclear winter, but it will change. Temperatures will stabilize. Sunlight will return. Crops will grow again. The question is not survival, but what kind of humanity emerges. Communities that prepare now, building resilience through food, heat, water, and leadership, preserve the chance to rebuild. You stand at a threshold. The sun dims. The cold comes. You can hide and hoard, or step outside and build together. Survival is collective. Preparedness is responsibility. It answers catastrophe with courage, cooperation, and hope, protecting not just life, but the future where fields turn green and children play. That future begins now, while the sun still shines. Before the cold arrives, the work is hard, the stakes are absolute. But if you act today, if you gather your community and refuse to face the darkness alone, you give yourselves something more valuable than food or heat. You give yourselves hope.